SimCity BuildIt has been around since 2014, and here in 2025, it's past their 10-year anniversary mark, and though I've only recently discovered the game just a few months ago, I was instantly hooked, drawn in by the allure of past fun and nostalgia that I felt when I was a kid and first played the original classic SimCity on a Macintosh at school during computer labs. I was so excited to be reliving the experience again, and I was well on my way to building a cool city. It would be unique and originally designed by me. No one else would build a city quite like how I was going to build mine. I was the mayor after all, and the whole future of my new city and new roads leading to endless possibilities were waiting to be paved. I was really impressed by this game. Finally, a real mobile and modern SimCity builder game I could enjoy. And it was free, or so I thought. I was content with building in the beginning, just a newbie, building my first roads and first neighborhoods. The yellow construction worker caps would pop up and I would be excited to rise to the challenges and get the supplies and open the stores I needed to keep building. I was instantly addicted and I spent hours playing, even to the point where I was not even listening to people around me in the real world who were sitting right next to me on the couch trying to ask me a question. It was hard to put down because there was always a factory to keep running, always a store to keep producing items, always a sim that was living in my city that had a speech balloon I needed to tap in order to receive praise or criticism, to know if I was doing well or what I needed to improve, or just to get potential free items. There was always a cargo shipment order waiting, or wondering when items I needed would show up on the in-game global trade market. There was always something to do, and if you're bored, it's perfect. This was almost the perfect game, until it wasn't. Early on, as a newish mayor, I was prompted by the app to leave a review of the game on the App Store. At this time, I was a satisfied mayor. I had a growing city, and I hadn't yet encountered a lot of the issues that I would later on. I was on cloud 9, and so I left a raving review of 5 stars. Yes, I left a very positive review, praises and all, and you would have thought that I was paid by EA to submit it. It was that much of a glowing review. At that point in the game, I had little to no issues, and I was still enamored by the high I was getting from being able to play SimCity again. I was determined to continue to play for free, declining all the offers to buy packs, the special passes, promotions, deals, and I took pride in the fact that I was building a cool city without spending real money in order to do so. I kept grinding it out through the ads, which weren't too invasive or annoying at first. I understood that rarely is anything truly free, and so I embraced some of the advertisements as I understood. This is what a free game needed to generate revenue. The prompt from the app to leave a review couldn't have come at a better time. I was content, I was satisfied, and I was still obsessed with my new city, and I wanted to keep it growing. So, just in case you were wondering why SimCity BuildIt has an average 4.1 star rating on the App Store reviews, well, it's because people are still relatively new mayors when they are leaving those reviews, and still in the beginning stages of the building, and they haven't yet experienced a lot of the downsides of the game. Once people begin to wise up to a lot of the in-game gimmicks, it's too late. They've already invested hours, sometimes a lot of real money spent to build what they believe is their original shining city not on a hill. If they do happen to leave a negative review later on, most of them are buried beneath all the ones that sing the game's praises like I had done initially. Speaking of which, part of the reason I am making this video review of the game is because I tried leaving an updated review about 5 different times, and the App Store conveniently kicked me off while I was in the middle of writing it, and I lost everything I wrote 3 different times until I wised up and copied as I went along just in case I was kicked off again, but to no avail. I finally was able to submit my review without the App Store randomly booting me off, but I just recently checked and I'm not surprised that my 2-star updated review was intentionally censored. I have no doubt that if my review was still a 5-star review, I would be able to find it. If my review was actively censored, I don't think it was because of the 2 stars, because they've posted many that have 1 star that are very critical, but it is because of what I said in the review that I think I was censored. Maybe I hit a nerve, and maybe I told the truth about their game. I remember several distinct warning signs while I was building my city. While they aren't a huge deal, they are still little things that I noticed early on that started to bug me. Number 1, limited choices. At first, I thought the different choices and styles in residential housing was cool, and at first, the building was exciting as it seemed many buildings developed into cool looking properties. However, later on I started to realize that the options for what kind of residential houses, commercial buildings, industrial buildings I could build was limited, though I knew that as I progressed through the game, more and more options would unlock and be available, which is true, but not in the way that I had hoped. Unlike other builders, I did like some of this aspect that you can build different styles of homes and have the choice of which style to choose, instead of the program auto-generating one single house of residential home or auto-generating a generic commercial building. However, this illusion of choice would begin to be more obvious later on. In the beginning, it seemed like a lot of choice and freedom, but in reality, the limitations were always there. I also noticed the limitations on where I could build on the map. The map is super simple, and I had a limited and predetermined area of zones I could build within. I wasn't a big fan of that at all. I was used to classic SimCity games where you could build anywhere on the map you wanted to, build the freeways and highways to your design. The area you could build in SimCity BuildIt is just the same basic confined area that everyone has to start, so it doesn't really feel like I'm doing anything original or different when I started to really think about it. Everyone starts with the same beach areas with the illusion of being able to develop it differently. Everyone has to open the same stores and produce the same items, and everyone ends up unlocking the same predetermined plots of land to develop. You have no choice or option to start wherever you want. You have to start along the same basic highway in the beginning, across from a World Trade headquarters and a rundown tower that belongs to some goofy mad scientist named Dr. Vu. Everyone starts the same, and I still thought I was doing something different. Road upgrades. Another aspect of the game that really started to annoy me was the gratuitous and arbitrary traffic jams and road upgrade notifications. Typically in SimCity, this was to be expected, but also in classic SimCity games and other city builders, the programming and graphics show actual traffic and traffic jams happening in your city. Whereas SimCity BuildIt, after I would get a blue road and then red road icon signifying traffic congestion, when I would look at the actual street in question, it is often completely empty, with maybe 1 or 2 cars driving down it. Where's the damn traffic? At first, there's the game's contractor guy wearing a yellow construction cap advising me to upgrade the roads. When upgrading from a small 2-lane road to a 4-lane road on a block that has bigger buildings and more population density, it makes absolute sense to upgrade the roads, and at the time, it only cost about 400 to 650 simoleon coins, which was still a little steep, but it felt worth it. That said, once the road upgrade notifications started to flash yellow, then eventually red, it cost about 10 times more simoleons to upgrade from a 4-lane road to a 6-lane road. Oftentimes the game wanted me to pay 6,500 to 7,500 simoleons to upgrade just a narrow strip of road. And when you are just around level 12 or 15 and it takes a while to save up just 20,000 simoleons, this was way too expensive. It wasn't until later on that I realized it seemed like a scam to get me to spend all my simoleons and pressure me to eventually lose patience, give in, and cave, and buy the special offer packs that would give me the extra thousands of simoleons and sim cash needed to finally make more progress. The game makes it seem like Sims are unhappy and will move out and abandon buildings if you don't upgrade the roads from 4-lane to 6 lanes when Sims start complaining, which proves to me that the program is just arbitrarily choosing a block to have traffic issues on without really having a good metric to determine traffic, and the developers are too lazy to actually program the sim cars getting into actual traffic jams graphic wise, so on that street they're claiming there is traffic. They just tell you that there's traffic jams and you should just believe them, as they are trying to get you to spend all your simoleons, wasting all of it on road load upgrades so that you will eventually give up trying to play for free and buy packs. The multiple types of in-game currencies started to get ridiculous. At first I was just dealing with simoleons and SimCash to build, and unless I caved in early and bought packs that gave me a lot of both, SimCash was harder to come by. So as a free player, I was just relying on saving up as much simoleons as I could to build. However, the much more attractive options and better buildings and features required other currencies and items in ridiculous amounts. Many of the coolest beach and mountain features cost a ton of SimCash, more than one could ever realistically accumulate in a timely manner, or golden keys, which required some crazy amount in the double digits when it would take a long time just to get 2 or 3 of them. It would take me a crazy amount of cargo shipments, which takes 5 to 7 and sometimes even 11 to 12 hour wait times in between shipments and their arrivals. Or just a ridiculous amount of luck choosing the right lottery boxes when I was lucky enough to get the free ad-sponsored video bubble pop up above one of my buildings, and when it would let me choose from 3 boxes to get an item, hoping I would get a key. It started to feel less like a builder game and more like a slot machine. Was I in Las Vegas? No, I was in my living room on the couch ignoring my girlfriend while we watched TV. Anyhow, I did all this, and I did accumulate enough keys to build a basic school system, a surfer beach, and even a water park eventually. Then there's the railroad simoleons, which was yet another separate currency where I could buy certain items either for the railway system or other random items I may need to build. I remember thinking, why do we need to have another currency? Isn't simoleons and SimCash good enough? Apparently not, because EA had other plans. Then came platinum keys, which are an even more special key than the normal golden keys, and these keys allowed me to build even more special projects. Just when I thought golden keys were hard to come by, now I have an even harder to come by platinum keys. Great. Then there's regional currencies, and so when I unlock a new region, the currency is a separate one, and so all the hard-earned simoleons I saved up in my capital city are essentially worthless in a new region. How convenient. Essentially, what I started to notice was that it couldn't be so simple to just have 1 or 2 types of currency in the game, then it would be too easy to build the city and be able to actually build without complications. And SimCity BuildIt developers via EA, they needed to make me work for every single upgrade and make sure that I saved up enough simoleons that it didn't matter anymore, because then I needed SimCash. And when I finally saved up enough SimCash, that didn't matter anymore because now I needed golden keys. And once I accumulated golden keys, that still didn't matter because now I needed railroad simoleons and platinum keys. And oh yeah, don't forget the regional currencies. Those are super important too. Yay. Number 4, the factory and store runaround. At some point, while attempting to build my city, expand, and fulfill the cargo shipments, I began to notice a trend where I was just going around in circles producing things in my factory just to be able to produce something in a couple of the stores in order to fulfill demand in a cargo shipment or a building upgrade requirement. Oftentimes these items were a chair, a ladder, or wood boards, and other times they were items that took crazy long amounts of time to make, like donuts, watermelon, watches, or a pair of shoes. In order to make those, you need items like seeds, flour, glue, glass, chemicals, metal, plastic, and paper. A lot of the times I found myself going to produce metal, wood, plastic in one set of factories, then chemicals, glass, corn, and other things in another factory. And by the time they were done being made, I forgot why I originally started making them, and then realized my city storage was full and needed to start selling stuff on the Global Trade HQ. Then I realized I had just sold what I needed to make the damn watch or pair of shoes to begin with, or donut or pie, or even the kiwi drink, that I had to start all over again and go back to the factories and reset the production. Of course, I could never hold enough items in my city storage because if you played this game, you already know there's never enough storage. Number 5, expansion. I soon realized that expanding was getting to be ridiculous as well. The game requires dozer exhaust, dozer blades, and dozer wheels to expand the city limits in different zones. At first it wasn't a big deal, it seemed logical, but then I started to notice that it was increasingly more difficult to obtain the items I needed. This was a little over the top. The one item I needed to expand seemed to be the one I came across the least. I would get a ton of bulldozer exhaust and still need dozer blades and dozer wheels, and the game would give me tons of one of them and I'd hardly ever see the others. What a coincidence! It has taken hours upon hours, sometimes days, just to accumulate what I have now. Meanwhile, they are all taking up a lot of space in my city storage. And for those of you that are willing to pay for packs and buy SimCash and other things like the Mayor's Pass or anything else that makes SimCity BuildIt life easier for you, that's great, to each their own. These all may seem like free player problems to you and you can't relate, and that's fine. Keep spending your money, buy more packs, and have fun, but don't leave just yet. This video, believe it or not, is for you. Number 6. City storage. I encountered this problem early on where I often didn't have enough space in the city storage to store things I needed to build, but also things I needed to expand city limits and also things I needed to expand city storage itself. This game requires storage bars, storage cameras, and storage locks. Also, one of the main ways to obtain storage or expansion items are completing those cargo shipment orders, but wait times for the ships is ridiculously long, and until it arrives, you do not know what item they will give you for either storage or expansion. Once it arrives, it usually gives you the item you don't need and have in abundance, and so you can either complete the order or request a new ship that will take, again, more hours. Essentially, the city storage aspect of this game is a major setback and definitely slows down progress, and for me, it disincentivizes me to play the game entirely. Number 7. Earning extra simoleons from Sims. Some of the little Sims speech balloons that have a simoleon icon or simoleon coin icon in them are random Sims asking me to give them certain items for an amount of simoleons. Sometimes they need it for that school or firehouse station or police station or whatever random building the coin balloon is hovering over, and sometimes they need it for a neighboring city and another mayor. The game encourages you in the beginning to complete these tasks, but what I found is that the game's programming is very sneaky, and they are actively asking you for items that you really need to complete other cargo ship orders or to build upgrades on your buildings. Almost every time they are asking me for items, I automatically check to see if I need it for something else or that I will need it for something later on in the future. This kind of thing is small but extremely annoying because it forces you to work twice as hard to produce items and gather them to complete tasks if you accidentally agree to their offer before checking if you need the goods for something else first. Though they are paying you simoleons, it sometimes is not worth the effort in my opinion, so oftentimes I'm refusing them until I have a surplus of those items and I no longer need them. Some of you may think this is a cool and challenging aspect of the game, but I think it's lame. Now for red flags. After all the warning signs, I began to see some clear red flag indicators that would become increasingly more disappointing as I leveled up and progressed throughout the game. Number 1. Vu Tower. Originally I had no idea what to expect from Vu Tower and I just ignored it, but eventually it seemed like the game was trying to steer me in that direction. At the point in the game early on, I needed 90,000 simoleons to repair his tower and I could barely save up 10,000, so that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Well, it turns out that later on, I forget what level I reached, but there was a giant squid monster that grabbed a ship near one of the islands and Dr. Vu wanted me to help destroy the monster. Then there was a silly hand thing that was used to squish down the sea monster, but it seemed like it didn't do much to stop it. I was sort of surprised, as in, what the F is this? And really, it was in that moment that I questioned if this game was really SimCity. It was that stupid and irrelevant. What pissed me off the most was when, now at level 27, I went back to Vu's tower and the price to fix his tower changed from 90,000 simoleons simoleons to 40,000. That's more than a 50% drop. So let's just say even if I was able to save 90,000 simoleons some levels back, I am disgusted that I would have wasted 50,000 simoleons knowing I didn't have to. These are the schemes and slimy things this game does, and it just makes me want to quit altogether. Number 2, war clubs. I'm not gonna lie, when the whole war club aspect of the game started, I got extremely annoyed. I play war type games sometimes, and I like some of them, but when I intend to play a city builder, I want to build a city, not join a war club, and the last thing on my mind is going to war. If you're a gamer that likes the war angle, more power to you, and to each their own, but there are plenty of war games out there for you guys to enjoy, and I think that EA and TrackTwenty didn't need to soil a storied franchise like SimCity with this kind of playstyle. In SimCity, sure, there are disasters featured and settings and things, but the war games are for the Clash of Clans type of players or some other type of similar gameplay, and SimCity Builder players usually just want to, build a city. Is that too much to ask, EA? I realize that the SimCity BuildIt fanbase will be quite split on this issue, but I'm willing to bet that those SimCity fans from older generations that played the classics will agree that the war part of the game is disappointing, and it is a feature that I personally could do without. I prefer not to participate in it, and I continue to ignore that island, but more and more, the mayor's contests that offer big prizes often have many tasks that require joining a club, which can only mean a war club, and participating in tasks that require joining a war club and warring efforts of the game, which I do not want to do and I'm not interested in the slightest. The game definitely incentivizes and steers players in that direction, and though a lot of people like this feature, I definitely do not, and it's my humble opinion that SimCity BuildIt would be a better game without the war clubs. Maybe not as profitable, but it would be a better SimCity game. It would stay truer to the genre, and SimCity fans of old and new would still love the game. I can confidently say that the war part of this game effectively makes it not a SimCity game, but that's just my opinion. It's this aspect of the game that will be one of the reasons that I as a player will eventually quit and end up deleting my city. I haven't spent a dime of my real money, so I'm not that attached or invested into my city like others, but I can understand for those that have paid real money and played for years and invested so much time and effort that it would be a lot harder to quit the game. Number 3, promotional pop-ups. When you first start the game, it eases you into pop-ups, offers, and promotions, and the pressures to buy packs isn't really big at first, but as you progress, the game gets more and more aggressive in pushing promotional packs, passes, and advertisement vids. Some ads are just in-game apps, and some are random commercials, but the constant slew of pop-up ads is so disruptive to the actual process of the game, and while being a free player, it was worth it to see a 30-second or a 1-minute ad if it meant that my items would normally take 3 to 5 hours to produce. If those items could be done instantly after an ad, then it was a fair trade-off, or so it seemed to me at the time. But in the grand scheme of things, I started to realize that the artificial amount of time that the developers decided it takes to make a nail, a wooden board, a brick, chemicals, glass, plastic, a tape measure, or a hammer, that in comparison, the 1-minute ad wasn't so bad. So psychologically, I would find that I'm being gradually manipulated by the game into tolerating more ads based off of the ridiculous amount of time it takes to produce items. Hey, I like to watch the free version of YouTube, so I'm used to ads, but the ones on YouTube you can skip after a few seconds. The ones on this game are pretty annoying, hard to skip if you can skip them at all, which usually you can't, and it's questionable if it's worth it sometimes. Number 4, factory and store production time paradox. Sometimes I wonder what the developers of this game are thinking when the passage of time happens in-game, like when the Sims are going to bed, I click on the nighty-night bedtime thought bubble or speech balloon, and a Sim tells me good night, the city lights come on, and I rotate around my city, complete a few tasks, check a few things, and next thing you know, the city lights dim and the sun rises in the morning. I click on some more Sim bubbles talking about their morning coffee and how they're headed it off to work, and then I go to one of my factories and they're still working on making a single brick. How does one figure that the sun goes down and comes back up, but a factory can't even complete a pair of shoes or a donut in that amount of time? Did TrackTwenty developers even think about this strange inconsistency in time and space? What I realized during the countless hours I was sucked into many in-game cycles day in, day out, was that I was duped into waiting ridiculous amounts of time just to produce a measly few items that I would complete a single cargo shipment or finish a single building upgrade, just so I can get a single golden key or scuba diving gear or a dozer wheel, or finally see which skyscraper I could build this time. No matter how efficient I thought I was, how many factories I had set to go, producing all the long hours, items like corn, glass, concrete, brick, wood, boards, donuts, I could go to sleep and wake up and it would all be made while I was sleeping, but it turned out to be that I could never simply make enough product to satisfy all the ridiculous things that the game required me to make just to feel like I made enough progress. And eventually my progress was stunted to a slow crawl as my city limits lingered with expansion, quote unquote dozer items trickling in at a snail's pace and the city storage items seemingly slower. I reached a point as a free player that I couldn't expand, I couldn't upgrade, and I just couldn't build anymore. All I could do was produce items for more simoleons that I couldn't spend on anything worthwhile, and I just wait to get lucky until the ad video magic box game finally gives me a storage lock or a dozer wheel, something, anything that I needed. Soon I found myself just sitting there staring at the screen, waiting for the next sim to pop up, a speech balloon I could tap, hoping for an item I needed or something to happen, something exciting. This is the fate of a free player who doesn't want to fix Vu's tower, who doesn't want to join a war club, who doesn't care about most of the dumb mayor's challenges, and who simply just wants to do what SimCity is supposed to be about and what a SimCity player is meant to do, and that is build a damn city, not spend hours and hours filling orders in predetermined factories and predetermined stores. Number 5, epic project, a total waste of time and energy. I can't remember exactly what level I reached at this juncture, but the game pushed the epic project on me and I really had no choice in the matter. And so one of my buildings was covered with this ugly brown accordion looking thing with a turtle symbol on top, and I'm thinking, okay, this is effing stupid. So I tapped it and it wants me to complete tasks for epic points. Easy enough, so I thought. Turns out it was not easy at all, and that I scrambled around for the good part of 24 hours trying to find ways to come up with items I either didn't have at all, didn't have the ability to produce, and if I did, took hours and hours to produce the ×4 corn or come up with ×4 watches for the community college. Then I needed 4 donuts and 3 more corn. It was absolutely ridiculous. I needed 40 epic points and I barely earned 12 of them. I wasn't even halfway there and I had 5 hours left to come up with the rest of the items I needed to produce, so I desperately used all of my llama and cheetah tokens to scramble and make as many damn bags of flour and then donuts as I could, because no one was selling them at the global trade headquarters and I had no choice. I thought this epic project was so important that I had to complete it, but time ran out and I didn't complete it. And then basically it told me that everything I just did didn't amount to jack and that I had paid 1,000 simoleons to start completely over. All the epic points I just earned, all gone if I wanted to start again. But hey, I was going to do this next time around, by golly. This time I was going to get all 40 epic points. Just you watch and see. I didn't have a furniture store last time, and this time I saved up and bought the furniture store. Ha! I hadn't upgraded my donut shop or farmer's market last time, but this time I upgraded both of them. This time I would be ready and make those items. 20 hours later and had barely gotten 22 epic points, and the schools all wanted items I didn't have and couldn't make yet again. The items it wanted me to make before when I couldn't make them then, now that I could make them, they didn't want them anymore. They only wanted items I couldn't make. make again. It's almost as if the game is programmed to know what I couldn't make and then program the schools to ask me for those items I couldn't make. Well, time ran out, and for a brief moment I wanted to throw my phone. I had wasted yet again another near entire day for nothing, and didn't upgrade a building, didn't get any golden keys, any platinum keys, not a single sim cache. My factories slaved away for hours making crap for these damn schools, all for what? So I could spend another 1,000 simoleons and start over from scratch? Seriously? This is when I really thought about quitting, more like rage quitting. This isn't the first time I experienced this kind of disappointment with a mobile game app that advertised itself as a builder and then became a war-type game. I remember back in 2017 or so, I downloaded the mobile game app Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire, and it started out the same exact way, and it had a very similar appeal where you start out small building a city or a citadel, and you have to produce items to keep growing and expanding as you progress. Eventually it gets you into a war with other players who are building their same domed citadels, and the only difference was the Final Fantasy brand, though a role-playing genre, does have something to do with conflicts and fighting, at least, so the war aspect didn't throw me off guard then. As a player, I preferred just building, but if a war was part of the game, I went along with it for a while until it just wasn't fun anymore, or when it became annoying. I don't know what it was, but it probably was the fact that I reached a similar point in the game where I couldn't really advance without obtaining a ridiculous amount of items and supplies, which meant spending real money that I didn't want to spend. The format of Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire was eerily similar to SimCity BuildIt in a lot of ways. I didn't make the connection at first until I saw something in SimCity BuildIt and I knew something was suspiciously familiar. And there it was, the stupid piece of corn. I don't think that Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire had the same piece of corn, but for some reason, me having to produce that same piece of food just rang a bell and seemed really familiar. Once I saw that I needed to produce corn, I got a weird haunting feeling that I was tricked into playing the same stupid scam war game under the guise of yet another beloved franchise. A distorted version of yet another Hallmark brand used to draw existing fans of older beloved games and suck them into playing an entirely different game that is far removed from anything that we ever loved originally. Some fans and gamers may have loved it, but I just had this instinct and intuition to put it down and delete it. Final Fantasy 15 and class action lawsuit. The makers of Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire, which is Machine Zone Inc. and developer Epic Action LLC, faced a class action lawsuit in 2020 that they settled in 2021, according to an article written by Corrado Rizzi on ClassAction.org. The lawsuit claimed that Machine Zone Inc. and Epic Action LLC reskinned the game and turned it into a money-making casino-style cash grab. Quote, "In reskinning the game, which contained the same storyline, images, and music as earlier version, Machine Zone and Epic Action intentionally transformed Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire into an illegal money-making scheme reliant on false and misleading pop-up advertisements and casino-style design elements meant to disguise how much it actually costs to play the game until players were financially and psychologically invested," the lawsuit alleges. Essentially, the defendants turned the beloved title into no more than an exploitative, monetized service or a pay-to-play game, the suit scathes. The more I read the article, the more familiar things started to sound. Quote, "Though Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire is free to download, users are encouraged almost immediately upon playing to make in-app purchases or microtransactions involving real money in order to gain certain features or services within the game," the lawsuit says. In-app purchases can be made by way of linking a credit card or debit card to a player's payment account connected to their mobile device, per the suit. In the game, players can buy packs which contain virtual currency, resources, boosts, or speed-ups, or a chest, i.e., in example, a randomized chance to win valuable in-game items according to the case. Crucially, players must spend real money to buy packs within Final Fantasy XV: A New Empire in order to make upgrades to their empire and army and therefore advance within the game, the complaint stresses. Without purchasing these packs, which cost real money, players are unable to advance in the game and are easily defeated by other players who have made such purchases and upgrades. The game is what is known in gaming parlance as pay-to-play or P2P game, end quote. While this article is about the company and developers who created a different game, a lot of what was mentioned in the article that was inside the lawsuit sounds very similar to my playing experiences on SimCity BuildIt, and also what I've read of others who left critical reviews of the game who had paid a lot of money to play the War Club parts of SimCity BuildIt. I just can't explain the nearly identical feeling I got when I had to produce the corn in SimCity BuildIt. It was seriously like deja vu, though I realized that SimCity BuildIt came out 3 years before Final Fantasy XV: A New Empire, and if anything, the same employees from SimCity BuildIt could have worked for Machine Zone or the other way around. I have no evidence to back any of this up in my theory, but I did find out that Blackrock, a Wall Street asset manager, owns about 10.2% of Electronic Arts, and I know that Blackrock has a questionable reputation with their involvement in many companies and their alleged agendas. While I'm not encouraging or suggesting that anyone should file a class action lawsuit against EA or TrackTwenty, I am questioning whether or not their business practices are ethical concerning all the millions of SimCity BuildIt players and fans. One Reddit user correctly points out in response to a player and also lawyer suggesting a possible lawsuit, quote, "Don't waste any more of your time on this. Everyone who plays the game has agreed to using EA's services. You have agreed to their arbitration agreement and class action waiver. You can access their user agreement in its entirety via the in-game settings menu." So basically, these kinds of pay-to-play companies have already thought of everything and they've learned from their mistakes in the past or others' mistakes, and they've made sure to protect themselves in the tiny fine print that no one really reads as they scroll through and hit the agree button. And don't get me wrong, I didn't want to spend this whole video shitting on the developers. The developers themselves are most likely great people that just want to make a cool and fun game, but they might also have their hands tied behind their backs, taking marching orders from up top, someone who's highly influenced by, say, a Blackrock representative, and they want to push profits and push the money-making schemes. I will definitely be super critical and make fun of them sometimes, but to be fair, the TrackTwenty team looks like a nice group of developers in Helsinki, Finland, and I don't really think that they are these evil money-grubbing people trying to rip off the SimCity BuildIt fans. It is free to download, and as we all know by now, nothing of value is ever truly free. People work hard to make things, make a product, and the TrackTwenty team deserves a lot of credit because a lot of the good parts of the game are because of them and all their hard work. However, I do think that there are a couple people in charge that are pushing the casino style aspects of the game, the psychological manipulative parts, and they may be at odds with the creative side of the team that would prefer that the game stays fun and pure, although they've went way beyond the point of having any kind of purity or ethical ground. But anyway, I'm sure darker forces are running the show, and that's my guess, and I bet I'm not very far off in that assessment. Essentially, I was just going to leave a detailed, maybe somewhat harsh and critical review for SimCity BuildIt on the App Store, but because I feel that I was actively censored while I was trying to submit my review, that just angered and fueled the fire inside me and made me create an entire YouTube channel. This game, SimCity BuildIt, is the most motivating reason why I started this channel. And while this review is going to be mostly negative, I'm going to flip this channel around into a positive overall. This is my gaming critique of one of the most popular, if not the most popular, mobile games to date. I didn't really want any of this to be the case, but I felt like in just the short month that I had been heavily addicted to this game and played it constantly, which was wildly unhealthy, I began to be concerned for those that may have played this game for years, and my goal is to maybe reach a lot of those players, and if my story speaks to them, maybe they can see a lot of the same things I have seen line with this game and hopefully do what is best for their well-being and sanity, and no longer allow these types of predatory practices used by some of these companies to exploit you for your time and your money, and under the guise of a cute game with sparkles, glittery spectacles, bright and shiny icons, and all those tricks that casinos use to catch your eye, passing itself off as a seemingly innocent form of entertainment when really it intends to consume you all of your energy and time. It's not all doom and gloom. Obviously not everything about SimCity BuildIt is bad, and though my review was brutally honest and maybe focused a lot on all the negatives, well, I think all the positives speak for themselves. It's quite obvious that if a game is as popular as it is, there has to be some good aspects to it that make people love it, or at least the game meets some demand from fans that do like certain things, like the war crap, like I had when I first started playing it. I wouldn't waste all this time making this video about the game if I didn't like it and play it myself, but it is because I saw so much potential with this game that my disappointment in all the negative aspects is amplified and outweighs many of the positives. SimCity BuildIt isn't really SimCity. The case that I make in this video is that the game starts out amazing and it looks and plays like a game we all know and love, and that is a real city builder game. SimCity, the epic franchise that will always be known as one of the GOATs when it comes to the builders. But unfortunately, SimCity BuildIt is the apple that fell far from the tree. SimCity BuildIt isn't a real builder in the spirit of a true builder game. It presents itself like one and leads the player to believe in the beginning that they are building this unique and original city design, but in the grand scheme of things, most of the skyscrapers become repetitive. The road designs and options are limited, the map is severely limited, expansion is ever more increasingly harder to do, and the perceived freedom in building a unique and special city just isn't unique or special at all. And while those that eventually cave in and pay, they experience a temporary satisfaction in building all the cool added features, building little Paris, the London, and all the extra packs, bonus buildings, and etc. The list goes on, and with updates, more and more things become available to entice the players that have been playing for 10 years and have seemingly done all that you can possibly do. I obviously don't know everything about SimCity BuildIt, as I've only played for a month, and so this review isn't coming from someone who is like level 99, who has 3 war clubs and has built every single region out to its every possible expansion. I'm merely levels 27 going on 28, a town leaguer. This is just my opinion based on what I've experienced so far, but also my intuition tells me that the temporary satisfaction of achieving more of the many achievements left in this game is probably not worth all the time and effort I would have to spend to accomplish all of it. I realized along the way that my city wasn't that special, and it was looking similar or the same as a bunch of them. I would go to the global trade headquarters and buy a few items, and then I'd be able to explore other cities, some small and some massive. I wondered, is this what my city is going to eventually look like? Sure, different mayors can put their own minor spins on how the layout is, maybe make it seem unique and special, but at the end of the day, it's all just the same grid, the same size square plots with the same roads. Sure, higher levels you get more advanced and special buildings, but they are all the exact same as the other players who are on the same level, buying the same crap. It's not really a unique design or a unique city, it's just the illusion of a unique design. Our creativity is stunted, limited, and confined onto this simple grid, giving us the feeling that we're creating something one of a kind, but in reality the purpose seems far more devious. I think that developers have tricked SimCity fans into thinking that they will build a magical city, but underneath all the shiny toys, distractions, the game is designed to get you to spend more and more money to advance, using casino-like tactics to draw your eye, create a euphoric feeling, endorphins rushing through your brain every time you win a prize. Flashy colors, sparkles, catchy icons, golden keys, cute little sims and sound effects, all the psychological tricks, just like how social media is designed, how most addictive apps are designed, especially if they are free. But is it? Once you are invested in your city, you are the mayor. Of course, you can't just simply abandon your city you spent so much time and money on building, could you? It's like how people feel if they deleted their social media or lost their phone for a day or even a couple hours. They don't know what to do and they'll panic. Psychologically, you never had a chance. And once you've spent $4.99, then $19.99 isn't so bad. And once you've invested about $25 into your city, another $50 isn't too bad, right? Then if you really want that special pack to build that last stretch, $99.99 is worth it, isn't it? The game isn't about building anymore. It's about collecting items in order to get more items, in order to win contests, in order to complete the side tasks to win the contest, to complete more side tasks, to go to war, to make more weapons, to defeat the monster, to complete the next cargo order, to complete the epic project, to get more keys, to get more platinum keys, to get more sim cash, to get more real simoleons, to get more regional currency, to build the same houses, to build the same buildings, to get more items, to build another factory, to build more items, to spend more money, to get more items, to produce more things in factories, to make other things in stores, to finally complete the ship cargo orders, to get the items, to expand, to build the same buildings again, and it never ends. And you've spent hours, days, months, years building what exactly? After all the glimmer and show, what is it all really? It's entertainment for a time, but do you really feel like you were in control? Were you doing all those side tasks because you really wanted to, or did the game force you to do all these things that you really didn't want to do? That is the distinction, that in a true builder, the creator is in complete control, or mostly in control in how things work, how things will look, how things run, etc. In SimCity BuildIt, you are not in control of anything. You are just following directives one after another. There is just the illusion of control, of creativity, of being the mayor. But in reality, you're just a pawn doing exactly what the game is designed to make you do. SimCity BuildIt advertises that you can build these topographical landscapes where you can build bridges and realistic cities, but it is anything but realistic. And when the mad scientists and the monsters come into play, it gets more ridiculous and even more ridiculous. Serious city builders don't want cartoon characters making outlandish weapons and fighting off fictitious monsters. The game is geared more towards kids, and for a game that has a great potential, it fell massively short of what it could have been. Sadly, it just became like every other gimmicky free app game, an endless cash-grabbing money pit, shamelessly manipulating players into wasting all their time and money, thinking that they are getting a great value. Some of you may be in denial and want to justify all the time and money that you spent and fool yourselves into believing that you are aptly entertained and content with it, and that may be true for some for a time. But for the vast majority, if you are really honest with yourselves, you might admit this, I believe, and this is just my opinion, you all were deceived and psychologically manipulated by this game. Overall rating for SimCity BuildIt. In all fairness, I was going to give SimCity BuildIt a 3-star rating out of 5 until I kept getting booted off the App Store when leaving my edited review. I don't think SimCity BuildIt is a bad game or a terrible game. It has a lot of good features. I like most of the graphics. I like how the building upgrades are animated and shown, with the building cranes going to work as it rises higher into the sky. Those animations and visuals are pleasing and a nice touch. Some of the gameplay is good, well designed. I like that you have multiple things to do, that you can make items in the factories in order to build some things. I like the general concept, but not the execution of it. I feel like they've just made it too time consuming and too difficult as the game progresses. When it comes to factory production and store production, it all goes way overboard, where I feel is no longer fun. The music, on the other hand, is pretty awesome and is one of the highlights of the game too. It gives me a Back to the Future type feeling, and I do love that aspect of the game too. As I mentioned before, before, the developers do have some really talented people working on the game, and a lot of the design is excellent, and so I will give credit where credit is due. This is the reason I loved this game when I first started, because I could see all the possibilities and potential. Unfortunately, a lot of those possibilities were curtailed by all the negative aspects I have laid out in this video, in my opinion. The negatives about the game far outweigh the positives, and so because of the nature of how the game is primarily designed to get people to spend money seemingly never ending, I have to give it a 2 stars rating because the negative aspects of the game ruin a lot of the positive aspects. The long-term trajectory of the game looks bleak to me, and so I don't see a point to continue on because I no longer feel like it's fun. I'm not excited to build out the beach anymore, and I could care less about the mountain stuff. I've seen almost every other player that is far more advanced and seen what it all looks like, and eventually they all look the same. I no longer feel like I'm really building anything special, especially when I can see that all the other mayors and what they've been confined to, knowing that there is a city limit and not very far. SimCity BuildIt doesn't even hold a candle up to the play and freedoms of classic SimCities and City Skylines 1 or 2. In reality, I shouldn't even waste my time making this video, but I've explained earlier the reason I did was that I feel the need to warn others. That said, I realize it's unfair to compare a free mobile app game to a full-on PC game that can cost anywhere from $40 to $90. Still, you get my point. Overall, SimCity BuildIt will still be considered a success and largely due to the flashy graphics and initial appeal, and because most new players will only review the game once, and it will be a positive 4 to 5 star review because they are enjoying the beginning of the game, and at the time they leave their review, just like I did initially. Most people aren't going to come back like I did and try to edit their review and take the time to tell the truth about the game. And if they do try to, and if what happened to me happens to them, they'll just get booted off the App Store once or twice and just give up. Sadly, I feel like more and more people will get sucked into the game and waste their time and hours for what they perceive at first to be a unique and wonderful city they can call their own. The truth is, the whole game is generically predetermined and your city might look slightly different than the next. The game even tries to tell you that you are a, quote, better mayor than the one in the neighboring city, unquote. That is to feed your ego and make you keep playing. The game feeds on all your human tendencies to want each endorphin producing gimmick until you find yourself running in circles going crazy, filling in slots in factories, not because you wanted to do it, but because the game is forcing you to do it. So who is being played after all? The game or you?
Garage Junk Review.